Welcome, everybody. How are we doing? Welcome. We are live. If you are rewatching the stream, we are breaking down the upcoming snowstorm here for the Northeast and the Mid Atlantic. We're going to have a blast here. It's going to be a great vibe. Um, and we're also going to be breaking down, some of the southern to mid Atlantic Northeast storm potential after this storm, and maybe more to track as well later next weekend. So it is going to be a blast. Y'all come in. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. So be ready, ask questions. Appreciate all the new subscribers today. We have gained over 85 new subscribers today, so we are going to have a blast, ladies and gentlemen. Brady, a fellow Brady, welcome. How we doing, everybody? How we doing? Let's open up the chat here on X. Let me get the X chat going. Open up chat here in X. Snowball, Boston Sports Tub, how we doing? Just take a second here, let people start filtering in. Let them start filtering in. Address Tomer. Sorry, I didn't see what Tomer said. Sorry, I don't know any idea what Tomer said. Gonna be a fun day tomorrow, and this snow ain't going anywhere for a while. It is gonna be an ice box after this too. Yes, indeed. Still hasn't updated. NWS Boston, for reference, they don't usually update warnings. They usually do it around the 3 to 5 a.m. or 3 to 5 p.m. time frame. Used to pray for times like this. Rhyme like, hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was. Please address the TikTok situation. Sorry, I'm not a big TikTok person. I don't use that at all, so I don't really have anything to address with that. Hoping I get under good band. Yes, the goat is back. We back here. Keep the subscriber count on YouTube today as well. Shout out! I was live. I told you, I hinted at it. We were live with Gerald today on his live stream. Fantastic. Over 850 people in there at one point. I don't know. It was probably near 10,000 people watched that so far. So awesome stuff going on with that. But added about 85 subscribers on YouTube today, which is very, very cool. Very, very cool. So blessed to have that happen here. Appreciate Gerald for having me on. It was awesome. We're going back and forth talking about, ongoing snowstorm, current snowstorm. Please address the political climate on Mars. The climate on Mars would be a fun case study, though. It was a great. I saw you in there, John, earlier. I didn't want to step on his shoes, but I shouted, I told Gerald, I was like, oh, my mod's in there. My mod's in here. Let's go. I was hyped. Shout out, John. Jessica, welcome. Glad to have you in here. We're about to get set up here. Just waiting for people to filter in. I appreciate everybody that was there watching me earlier today. yes, welcome, welcome, Jessica. Where are you from? Where are you from? Always, we have a lot of Mid-Atlantic, Northeast people, but glad to be expanding into the South as well. So I've been to the South many, many times before. So always a blast down there. We're gonna pull up satellite. That's what we're gonna do first. Don't worry, we're just letting the intro song play out. If you don't know what song it is, In the Air tonight, Phil Collins, non-copyright remix. We don't like to get copyrighted on here on YouTube. The Gaming High, welcome. Homer is noting the sudden southeast late trend, infamous to the. This is not any. It's not even close to the same system. So I would completely disagree with. I mean, if anything, we saw with the OZ guidance. Um, with the OZ guidance, we saw actually more amplified so far. The HR was actually so far west that it's overcorrecting its rain snow line. The same with the RGM. If you really want to get into specifics, and we're seeing that correct now. So and you saw the models that were already on top of it, like the GFS. The NAM was closer, at least, right? The NAM wasn't over amplified already. You've seen the models correct so far. That's exactly what you've seen. So I'm not seeing some crazy southeast trend bust right now, and there's nothing on current observations to suggest that too. So again, let me say welcome new people, subscribers that we've seen here today. We've had over 85 new subscribers today, and counting, which is unbelievable. The growth that we had. Shout out Gerald again. He was awesome today. Absolute blast. But hey, fire me up. We got a snowstorm here for the Mid-Atlantic Northeast. I'm hype. Obviously, when we get to the analysis, I'll keep it level, but hey, I have a good shot of getting hit pretty well here. So it's gonna be fantastic. Jim the Weatherman, your stream earlier was great. My first time here now. Oh, awesome. I feel like I've seen you before, Jim. No? Thank you. I'm ready for snow. Oh, Jessica from Central Mass. Represent Central Mass here. What town are you from, if you don't mind? I love to know. I'm from shout out Grafton, Mass here. Proudly represent here right by Worcester. So yes, Jessica. Glad to have you in here. New people in here. It's fantastic. How have things trended for DC? About the same. Same thoughts remain in place for DC. So keep throwing your stuff in there in the chat, and we'll start getting going here. I loved what I saw on satellite on some of these trends here. I'll bring up my tweet. And yes, I will also, for those of you that are new, Douglas. Oh, when I was younger, I used to play in the Douglas basketball tournament when I was a lot younger. That was always a lot of fun. Back in my more youthful days. But yes, shout out Douglas. Holden, yes, represent Holden. Love Holden too. Got a lot of friends from Holden. Savannah, Georgia, welcome. Let's go, Savannah, Georgia. My brother might go to WPI, says Jack. Awesome. Southbridge, Massachusetts. I love it. Loving all the Massachusetts people in here right now. Love everybody. As long as you're in here, that's all that matters. Has things changed for NYC? In my opinion, not really. Not really. So here's what I noticed here. Again, if you're on YouTube, you haven't seen anything. This is my X. The logo is slightly different. I've thought about changing because I love my X logo so much. Shout out AI. I might do it. You're originally from Bellingham? Oh, okay. I was born in Attleboro, which I don't want to give too much. I don't need people stalking me too much. Tom's Bombs channel, welcome. My man from Western Mass, originally from Bellingham. Yes, I'm, like I said, originally never really from Attleboro, but born Attleboro. Bergen County, Href is a good model. Href can be sometimes decent. The Max can highlight those booming scenarios. Milton for some plowable snow. Yes, Milton can very much see some plowable snow. Trying to make an official forecast here. Everyone, yes, hit that like button. As Gerald likes to say, the shameless plug. I'm going to steal that term now. The shameless plug. Hit that like, subscribe. If you haven't already, it's fantastic. But let me do a little bit some analysis here for y'all. Keep commenting. I'll see. Trust me, I'm still seeing your comments and addressing all that. Keep going. But one thing I noticed here, if I get my pen tool for you all, is that if we peep here. So what I was doing earlier is comparing the 18Z GFS and to some of those older GFS runs. I was like, okay, what was the difference here? What kind of changed? What did we see changing guidance that possibly allowed for that to happen? And also just you get enough feel looking at water vapor now. So mid-level water vapor is higher up in the atmosphere, about 500. It matches up pretty well with. And so yes, lots in here tonight, upstate lake show. So when how close the rain snow line gonna be? We'll talk about rain snow line, don't you worry. Cheshire, yeah. How we doing, my man? HV Barry, how we doing? Western Mass represent. uh yes. Sorry, I didn't read your DM yet. I'll read it after. So what I saw here on satellite, I was like, this looks fantastic relative. So I was looking at it and it's like the 18Z GFS lowered the QPF a little bit. So I was curious, why that take place, right? So this is our storm here currently. You can see it starting to get amplifying. You're seeing this raise up, right? You'll continue to see this raise up, right, as our upper level jet starts to get firing here, right? This whole boundary here, right? So the storm system, this is amplifying right now, actually. So a lot of it is going into this. If this wasn't the case, we'd be looking at the potential for this to be an all inland situation, potentially, depending on the exact placement of the Atlantic ridge. But this boundary, what it's doing, it's stalling out along here, right? So this is the boundary. And here you can see the upper level energy. You see this out here? This is what's going to interact. These two currently, right? You see this all the way down here. These two are going to are interacting currently as we speak with each other. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jessica. I try not to over talk too much on there because I do it a lot on here. But I love breaking this stuff down. I'm just, man, especially when I'm getting the snow too. It just makes me passionate. Um, Yes, we'll talk about. Don't worry, Stephen. We'll talk about rain snow line. But this boundary here, it interacts with our upper level energy, right? You can see that here at 500. And I was talking about this earlier for those that might have been there. You see this here, just like I'm displaying. If you can, I don't want to erase it. So here's the upper level energy. Here's the boundary. If you see that there on 500 volt, again 500 volt upper level vorticity. So that's upper level energy basically is how we like to simplify it. How strong the spin is at that level, and it's a good way for tracking our system. And you can see it here. These are the pieces that are connected. So here's this Atlantic ridge way out here is forcing. You see all this moisture riding upwards. It's forcing this moisture to go northward. So what we're going to do is this ridge is not going to let this to just keep stalling it eastward like we had previously. It's not the same pattern here. It's not the same progressive flow. This continues to get pulled. It's just refreshing the satellite there. This continues to get pulled eastward, and then this will interact, right? So this storm gets pulled eastward still. Little, very small area of low pressure. You can see it right around here intensifying, and that is going to pull some of this moisture. But the rest of it interacts with the rest of the boundary here. You can see you see the convection firing off of it now. It's starting to interact. You can see it already. The stream interaction is what we call it between the upper level pieces of energy. These two are going to interact with each other. And so these two interact, and we're going to create some pretty good cyclogenesis right here, just meaning we're going to intensify our storm here. And so in this process of happening, what we're going to see is this upper level load develop here is what we call it, right? To simply break it down like we always do. But this upper level low starts developing, and we're going to see some really good moisture get pulled into this upper level low. Notice our trough starting to tilt negative now. Our trough is tilting negative, very broad trough base. But within that, you can see there's this upper level low here. This overall trough is very broad. But the smaller area here, you can see there's a sharper, almost trough within this polar vortex here. That's this whole, this whole TPV, the tropospheric polar vortex. And this is all this cold air in place. So this upper level low gets firing, and all along this upper level low, basically you can follow 500 here, and you can tell where the strongest snow is going to be just based on 500. And we call it that kind of, you see, it looks like we call it like a snake tongue look. Especially our man Billy likes to call it. And right here, you can see this is where this starts intensifying and amplifying, and the low pressure develops just to the southeast off of it. And you'll see that kind of ride off into the sunset, I guess, as well. And so this right here, you'll see moderate to very heavy snow within this region here. And this will continue to pull east northeast until it eventually rides upward out here towards Maine. And this allows like very heavy snowfall with this, very heavy snowfall here at 700. You can see we had great. So you notice the difference here. This is what I was talking about. This was the difference, and I think satellite looks great. I'll have to reanalyze again before I make my snow map again. I will be making my snow map after the stream, so if you follow me on X, Mansfield, Connecticut, Kevin, yes, represent Boston, baby, represent, yes, CB19. This will, when I was looking at satellite, I was like, we look very good. We look better than modeled, especially the 18Z GFS, which was close to some other guidance as well, but has been performing well close to guidance so far. Has been performing, doesn't mean it's the most accurate, and it's going to struggle to resolve some of these mid-level dynamics. It's going to struggle a little bit to do that, and pull in some of this convection as we get closer, which is what makes me even more excited about this. GFS is a low resolution model, 13-kilometer model. It's a lower resolution model, so it's going to struggle to resolve some of this. And the fact that the GFS has been pretty significantly active, accurate. Sorry, not active. It's suggesting that if we have this and we're struggling with some convective feedback issues because of its low resolution and the way it likes to smooth out vorticity sometimes instead of wrapping it in to our best dynamics or upper level that we would call these mid-level dynamics, but mid-level dynamic above the surface. And right here, you can see the 700 band forms, and you see right to the northwest here, you can see exactly where this band would be setting up, and it would pull east-northeast. And what's going to happen here too is don't worry about, I put this out earlier, do not worry about if you're to the east of the banding especially. Do not worry about if you're to the east of the banding because all this convection is going to get wrapped in and pulled. So as this band forms out here, it'll form to the west, southwest, and it will pull and it will get even better organized as it moves into southern New England. As it moves into southern New England, this is beginning stages as it forms here. So Philly, I don't know about full central Jersey, but finishing in central Jersey, at least probably some. DC, Northern Maryland, Baltimore, all start in the beginning stages of this, and you're going to thump here. You're going to thump here in this band. Absolutely. Look at this right here. Right here, you can see on the GFS highlighting it, even though it's a low resolution model. You can get the general idea as we have our nice little ad sponsorship because I will refuse to get copyrighted for music. And we keep that in the background. But right here, you're seeing absolute thumpage in between that. And since it's moving so fast and it's these, 3-hour intervals here, it looks like, you're like, oh, it misses me. No, it doesn't. In New York City, it's hitting you right here. You can see it right here in New York City. You're getting thumped on right now. This is about tomorrow evening at this point. You're getting thumped on, and then watch these dynamics here consolidate at 700. And the GFS is probably underdoing it some because of how low of a resolution model it is. So I'm curious to see if the Euro can do the same thing. What are some of those totals on that P-type map going to look like? And also, the QPF did not represent how much those snowfall totals would be too. I'm telling you that the GFS, it's not in its strong suit to be able to pick apart temperatures in the column to a T specific, the best dynamics, exactly lift as we get closer. So the QPF that got produced here, look at the difference. This way you'll be able to see it. QPF meaning precipitation, amount of precipitation. Models the night before the storm, yes, are the best, John. I'm loving it. Basically, he's telling you the weather right over his house is looking good for. I'm not lying. I'm not. Listen, I got excited. I don't like that it's all converging over my house the night before the snowstorm, because that's only where it goes wrong. I don't like whenever. I like to be not in it. So then, it shows it when it happens. But I'm not denying it. I'm not going to deny it if it wants to do that, Steve. You think NYC could be an 8 to 12? We'll talk about it. Ceiling wise, it's possible. Double digits in NYC are possible in the boom scenario here. But what I was going to show you again, surface precipitation here totals. Look at the change. Again, some of these just includes a little bit of the leftover precip from tonight, but for the most part, actually I can do 24-hour. But look how much precip here. This is a ½ inch to an inch of QPF here. ½ inch to an inch, all the way from almost DC, into Boston and into Maine, sorry, a ½ inch to an inch. And your ratios northwest of 95 in here at first, Eastern Connecticut, Northern Rhode Island, they'll struggle, and Eastern Mass in the beginning will struggle. And don't be surprised if some people do start. If you start as some rain, don't or white rain, don't be surprised. The cold air is just moving in. Like some people, even interior, it's possible you could start as rain, like just a little light rain before as we get going here. Yes, nor'easters are extremely dynamic. They are very, very dynamic. It's almost like a chat GBT answer there, Stephen. Well, I appreciate everybody in here. Again, hit that like if you haven't already. Subscribe. The shameless plug, like our man Gerald was talking about earlier today. NWS Albany shows 1 to 20 inches possible. Well, yeah. Again, we're live here, multi-streaming on X and YouTube, whichever is your preferred here. Lots of people in here on YouTube right now. It's fantastic. Again, I'm very passionate about this stuff. I love to be as accurate as possible as I can. We go in depth here. So you got questions. I'm going to give you an in-depth meteorological answer to why I think what's going to happen is going to happen. And I'm not going to BS you. I'm going to do whatever I can for y'all, to give you the best answer I can. And for me, it's a pride thing to forecast these things. So, but yes, looking here at the GFS, you can see, look at the bump in the increase in the QPF from run to run. Here's OZ, 18Z. You see that difference there? Look at that. Widespread increase. We go to the NAM, same thing. Look at the difference here. 12-hour works fine. We'll go to hour 33. It gets most of it. 18Z, OZ, look at the drastic difference. That's not a southeast trend. I don't know what, that's not a southeast trend whatsoever. Look at that. So for anybody that was saying that, there really hasn't been that on guidance. The HRR and the RGM are overcorrecting. HR, no, Mark. I've heard a little bit, but I honestly, I don't really follow him. So I really can't tell you a lot of the stuff. I don't see his content. So, but I just will be saying, a lot of people just get excited over snow and want the model to be right. When you get more of a following, you take more heat, sometimes rightfully so. But, there is a level of calling out versus, trying to, attack somebody. So just be careful always with that. If you don't mind, we got enough hate in this world as it is. I know it sounds corny, but yeah, so I was looking at this, I was like, dang, and we saw this, the NAM 3K as well. Look at this. Oh, this is HRR. No, I want the NAM 3K. Yeah, go back. And if I go surface precipitation, 24 hours, look here at the difference too on the NAM 3K. And the 3K and the NAM 3K and the HRR, what they're doing better is ratios. I'm telling you, we'll look at some of those HR soundings. Don't focus on the QPF specifics and all that, but we're going to show you some soundings in a second here that when I saw those, I was like, I think this is going to perform very well for a lot of people. But look at the difference, 18Z to OZ. It's resolving this issue I'm talking about here that we saw in models where if we slide in here, notice this is for 03C. So this was 10 o'clock satellite, and this was GFS simulated satellite water vapor. Notice the difference here in Carolina. You see that difference here? It won't be the exact same size, but this is lifting already. Instead of getting pulled into the flow, this is lifting northward already, so that when this interacts with this, there's more moisture closer to tap into, and we're not actually changing the position of the upper level low here, but this is going to interact. So what you do is you keep the same position. Not only are you not pulling the rain snow line further west, you're actually probably going to pull it a little further southeast due to stronger dynamics consolidating. So you'll get more dynamic cooling in this case. And so what happens here, This moisture flow, you can see if you slide back now, you notice that in Carolina and also the angle in Mississippi as well, a little bit sharper, this angle in Mississippi from the 18Z GFS. And it was a weaker run compared to previous. And I was just, you can pick apart what's going on here. And this is what I like to do. This is how I like to do some analysis, pick apart and be able to see where we're heading based on what's going on. And GFS has been fairly accurate, or just more accurate than the other models. Doesn't mean it's been perfect. But look here, you see this curve here? This is progressing northward versus getting slid out further east. This strip of dry air is associated. Yes, this is the upper level energy. You have dry air in cyclones like this. This is not unexpected. It's this wrap of cold, cold dry air meets warm air. This is how the process works. This is how creating a nor'easter works. Not like a tropical cyclone. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton is going to be able to have her. I think Scranton should be able to. We're going to talk about. I have a lot of interior people in here as well. We're going to talk about why I think the interior is going to do just fine. And those soundings that we're going to pick apart, meaning the column in the atmosphere and seeing temperature and dynamics and lift, it's going to really paint the picture of what's going on here. And I'm going to explain to you guys why some of those soundings there were really suggestive, to potentially allow decent snowfall totals to still progress regardless how much band and what kind of dynamics in southeastern PA. Well, it's just, I'm saying mid-level dynamics, but it's going to be explosive cyclogenesis here is what's going to happen. Not like ridiculous, not any more crazy than like, another snowstorm, for example, but it's just the right ingredients here to be able to produce a significant snowstorm, because you have this combination, like I've been talking about, remember, we have this cold air in place. This is why I've continued from the beginning, just basic meteorology, basic meteorology. That's it. If you continue to look here, look what we got. Upper air temperatures. I'll go to 850. I'll go to the GFS because I got to see the anomaly, and you'll see. So this is a temperature anomaly, what I'm going to show here, not exact temperature, temperature anomaly. And it's classic. I posted a couple long range photos a little time ago. If you remember, it's like, this is winter weather 101. This is an example of winter weather 101 here. This is classic. This is classic. Now, typically you'd get your cold air a little bit more out ahead in front already. But for the setup we have, it's a little bit more of a unique setup here along the boundary. You don't see these as often for Northeast snowstorms, especially I-95 snowstorms. But look at this. In behind this storm comes thin air, coldest air of the season. And this comes in right in behind, our system we're seeing pull out today. And along this boundary here, you can see it. You can see the boundary on this clash of warm and cold air. We have our Atlantic ridge out here, high pressure out here in the Atlantic. And so what this does is it pulls this. Also, it's going to be nighttime, so ground temperatures aren't going to be as big of a concern as you think for accumulating. Yeah, we'll talk about some subsidence. I don't think dry slot, no, but subsidence is possible. Here this warm air gets pulled in. This is classic. In order to create any time in significant thunderstorms or convection, in general, you have to create cold air to meet warm air. That's winter weather. You have to create a baroclinic zone anytime to create a lot of to be able to create significant weather, and specifically precipitation is what I'm talking about. And so this clash here of cold air meeting warm air sets up right over our region, and it is cold, 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 cold. Look at the 850 temperatures here. Super cold. I mean, this is Celsius here, but you use -15, -20, even -30 almost here out here in Canada. And this temperature gradient over this span here is what is going to allow that temperature gradient is what's going to allow some of these dynamics to be as explosive as they are. So if I slide back to 700 volt here, this is what's driving our system. This is what is driving our system. And the fact we've gotten a system to be as amplified in the spot, like, guys, I'm telling you, we could not have performed a trend like any better. Like the ultimate best trend for a lot of people to get snow and maximize snow potential and not just be a lighter event. Couldn't have done it any better. This is why I was excited. I put that tweet out maybe like 4 or 5 days ago saying if this hits, this is going to be like at least 4 or 5 like 8+ inches of snow if we do see this hit. And none of the guidance really was showing that, but you could just see some of those dynamics, and the upper level energy wasn't as far off as you thought, as a lot of people were thinking. So then it was like slowly, it was like, oh, is this what's going on here? And it's like, well, it was not super hard to see, but, just when the models don't show it on the P type maps, it's tricky to be able to pick apart. So, I was lucky. I've been able to try to stay on top of this. I'm trying to stay ahead of the models. I'm trying to stay ahead of the models, and it's difficult a lot of times, but I'm really happy so far with how it's gone. But again, not until that clock hits zero do we stop trying to really make sure that we nailed this forecast. And it's not going to stop because we got more after. And then for my folks in central and northern New England, look where the band pulls out then, right? Pulls out east northeast. And so then it sets up right over Maine, New Hampshire, eastern Mass right here, absolutely thumping at this point tomorrow morning here, early tomorrow morning here. This band is ripping. This band is absolutely ripping here in eastern Mass. You finish as all snow all the way even into southeastern Mass likely at this point as well. So this is what is going to allow people to make out. I'm telling you guys, we really, in terms of the potential and the trends we could have done with this storm, it's pretty close to maximized. It's very close to maximized. And I put out a tweet last night. I'm going to bring it up again. I'm going to bring it up again to talk about the ceiling with this storm. A lot of people, I'm getting questions. I've gotten questions. How much snow can I get versus what are you expecting? I put out some stuff late last night. I was cooking last night. I'm not gonna lie. The thoughts were coming in my head, and I was like, oh my, they just keep coming. I was like, I could not go to sleep whatsoever last night. I just couldn't. I had too much going in my head. Um, this is what I'm talking about, the thermodynamics, and it was a little bit more impressive. 700 last night, just a little bit more impressive, but it's pretty close. Again, it's not that far off. And you looked here and you saw the 700 dynamics, which was a little bit more impressive. This picture we just showed, the 700 temperatures as well for 700 millibar frontogenesis in the moisture transport too. Look at this, straight from the Gulf of Mexico along this boundary here. Straight along this boundary here, right? This moisture, look at our moisture source is fantastic. Fantastic moisture feed on this site. Look at the comma head. Even though this is like two systems combining, more so it's like along the boundary works to create the comma head here. And it's a straight flow of moisture source here. I'm telling you, we are going to be so well saturated tomorrow. Dry air is not going to be a problem. Subsidence possible, meaning in between banding and there's too much sinking air going down to meet that rising air. There probably will be some subsidence. There will be a screw zone of subsidence tomorrow. And it will probably, if I had to guess, based on orographically, it will probably be Springfield, Connecticut, River Valley. But again, remember when I say this, the best dynamics are still going to be forming into this band. So before the band comes through and consolidates after, you're still going to get thumped on here. So you're not getting, I don't think there's going to be a full screw zone here with subsidence for anybody. Regardless, this band forms westward, way out here, and then continues to, kind of jumps, more banding, more upper level, more energy above the surface, consolidates as it continues to slide. We're pulling more in. Our storm is still amplifying. Our low pressure is intensifying as this band continues to pull eastward. We're continuing to wrap the flow in. So you continue to thump. And then maybe somewhere after, maybe there's a small interior screw job in there, but you're still going to get your ratios we're going to talk about in a second. We'll look at the euro here first. Your ratios are going to be so good in the interior, and we're going to talk about that. I hate making this sound like it's all goody. Well, there'll probably be something that goes wrong always with these. I don't want to sound too goody two shoes. Is the euro really only 1 hour out? I saw someone say, "Oh no, it's not only 1 hour out." 18Z, OZ. Let's see here. Again, you're not going to see drastic changes here, but that does look a little bit more amplified. Let's see, 700 here. Yeah, yeah, a little bit more consolidated. You saw it wrap a little bit better as well. So yes, definitely a solid euro run. But notice, even though the 700 shifted barely, oh my goodness, look at that. Yes. Oh my God. And this band, it sets up here, but really it continues to pull east northeast. So this whole band for this area here just rips. The euro's out right now. We're looking at the euro currently. This is the euro. Look at this. This is a ripper of a band. This is an absolute ripper. Look at this right here. Look how it gets going. You see how it comes from west to east too? This is what I'm talking about. So in the mid-Atlantic, you'll have waves of banding start first. It'll likely be less. There'll be one area most consolidated. You'll have waves of convection moving northeastward. And this will all start to consolidate more and more the more it moves east northeast. No, this is the euro right now. This is the current euro run. This is OZ euro. We're looking at it. I'm breaking it down right now. Look at this. Look at the band start coming together here. So right now, this thing is ripping. You're probably still ripping in here, maybe a small area of subsidence. Right now, absolutely ripping just west of Philly. Right over Philly, basically. Play this another. Watch what happens here. Now all these dynamics consolidate. Ripping. Absolutely ripping here. Central Mass, Long Island, Connecticut, New York City just moved through it. Kind of, they're on the back edge now. Pulls out, still ripping. Look at that. This is the difference here, right here. Look at 18. You see the model pulled it further east. Now look at this. We slow the system down a little bit too when we do this. Ladies and gentlemen, we could not have had a better OZ suite of guidance. We could not have. Look at the band. Look at the height dam here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at this. This is absolutely ripping right here. This is absolutely ripping. 1, 2, 3 inch per hour snowfall rates right here in this band. 1 to 3 inch per hour snowfall rates falling. Heavy snowfall. Heavy snowfall. Sunday night, early Monday morning. And then you'll see Maine. Maine gets cooking down east Maine too. 700 millibars starts really consolidating here as well. I mean, this is maybe one of the best model runs I've seen yet, out of any model. This is fantastic here. Look at this thing. Gorgeous. So the euro pulls the rain snow line, I think just barely. This is also beginning and onset. Yeah, so it pulls it just barely a little bit northwest. So for southeastern Massachusetts, but man, what a gorgeous run here. What a gorgeous run. Absolutely beautiful. You see that? It slows down too. Look at that. More time. When you consolidate more energy, you slow down. You slow it down too. I mean, gorgeous. What a gorgeous run. Resolve. Well, Euro will resolve mid-level. The GFS, even if it's handling, which at this point it doesn't matter. You should be hyped, man. Dude, shoveling is the greatest. It's the greatest prize for when you get a good snowstorm. It is the greatest prize. Number one rule they teach you in weather school: do not focus on one model. Yes, that's why we focus. That's why I build up my general idea, and we look at the models to see how much they aligned. But I mean, man, this Euro run, I couldn't have asked for any pretty much too much better of a Euro run here. This is the best Euro run we've had on stream all of 2025. This is the best euro run we had on stream. So let's see what it does with the QPF here. Um, we'll go 48-hour QPF here. This 18Z, beautiful. Look at it increase the QPF there. It does show a little bit of a subsidence, just a small bit of it. But man, look at that. Increasing. That's not even as, I think it's still underdoing it. The QPF based on the run. I think that's still underdoing a little bit. Gorgeous Euro run though. Gorgeous. I'm telling you, I don't care what this says. That was a gorgeous. I don't care what this thing says. That was a gorgeous run. This is why I hate these P-type maps sometimes. This was exactly what you wanted to do here at 700 and 500. Beautiful. Beautiful. Just ripping. Honey, that band's going to pull east-northeast too. That band's going to want to consolidate tighter, probably a little bit too, based on the look. There's Euro GFS. Very close, you can see. Euro is still a little, maybe slightly faster, maybe. Let me take a peek here. I think it's still a little bit faster. So, you know, I will check after to see who is, which model is performing closest. Yeah, the GFS tightens. It's weird. It's tightening dynamics a little bit better. I still think the Euro, a gorgeous Euro run. But, you know, I would expect this. I would expect it to be a little bit tighter. Some of the banding here. I would expect this to be a little bit tighter and consolidate a little bit better, especially here. Still looks, I think, even for a Euro high res, I still think it was a little messy. I was here for the one that, oh boy, we got a fun little trend here. Well, look what we started. That run puts 5 to 8 inches of snow, not more for NYC to Boston. Yeah, this was a golden model run. Yes, you were all here to witness a fantastic model run here. Fantastic. It's overdoing. Skip that. It's overdoing some of the subsidence here, I think, a little bit. So I'm not too concerned about that. And I will check, like I said, after which model is handling the best here. But you can see that. Look at that. There's your Kachera fun map there. I think Euro is handling ratios better than the GFS. And here's your weenie map for the GFS as well. And you can see not too far off both of these now on the weenie maps. Pretty close. Okay, given that the GFS shows it over my house, obviously it's correct. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, I will check after to see which model is closest to guidance, but also which is closest, or sorry, not guidance, but closest to observation. I think Western Long Island's going to get 7 to 8 plus. It's possible. I would still say more 4 to 8 for Western Long Island, but yeah. Not a bad idea. Oh, here's what we're going to look at now. So that was that. And we'll go to tidbits and I'll show you the HRR. Yeah, that was a golden Euro run right there. So this is what I was talking about too. HR is kind of showing it maybe too much. You could start as a few rain showers here in this area. You could start as a few rain showers possibly for Eastern New England. Don't if it happens, don't start freaking out. See, actually, how does this compare? I don't like doing this, but get that HRR. Is that beefier? I can't tell. I can't tell if anything about from this, but I was going to look at the soundings, but now I'm kind of glued. I can't tell. Regardless, go back to OZ. I don't care about the rain snow line. on this. Don't focus on that. I think it's a little too far southeast with that, but I would like snow in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Could Manchester, New Hampshire will most likely see 6+. Yes, your OAI is beautiful as well. It's lower resolution, so I'm not sure. That was probably 18Z if I had to guess. But what I like here is take a look. The soundings, I posted some earlier. First of all, Philly's going to rip tomorrow during the Eagles game. Absolutely rip. Look at that. Beautiful. You have -1 or -2 omega here in your dendritic growth zone. You're absolutely thumping. Absolutely thumping here. Very, very thumping. Super well saturated from upper levels all the way down to the surface. You're going to be so well saturated. It's going to be those, like you're going to see some of the fattest flakes you've ever seen in your life tomorrow. It's going to thump. It's definitely going to be, when you look at it, you're going to be like, man. So I'm very, very intrigued about some of these soundings I'm seeing. But look on the backside here, what starts happening. I don't know about that much, but we'll go out, towards Allentown. Look at what your ratios start doing. Don't worry, we'll click all over. Your dendritic growth zone, right, starts dropping a little bit more in the atmosphere. Starts dropping lower, meaning it's supportive of being colder in your dendritic growth zone. It starts dropping, and that's going to allow for better ratios to take place as well. This is very heavy snow. This is very heavy snow, and it's above 10-1 too. These are probably, considering the dendritic growth zone, like at least 15-1 ratios. The dendritic growth zone is very important. How much lift you have in the dendritic growth zone as well, super important. Yes, we will take soundings all over. Don't you worry. And this is the HOR, so don't. But the main takeaway for this is, here's uh, if you look at this sounding, you can see this. I mean, this is why I'm not too worried about some of these interior places, especially if you're in a thump like this in PA, like -2, -3 omega, and look, and if you peep where your dendritic growth zone is, your DGZ. Look at it here. About 560, 550 down to 700, below 700, 25 degrees at the surface. You're gonna thump. I mean, those are probably 20-1 ratios right there. Those are probably, I mean, probably pretty close. Just how much lift you have in the atmosphere. It's that combination of how much lift you have in the atmosphere right there. If we go really even farther interior out here into Pennsylvania, look at this. 16 degrees, and you have near -1 omega. It'll be near the same snowfall rates. Your ratios here will be over 20-1, over 20-1 out here in this banding. It'll be a huge fluff factor, huge. It will accumulate so easily. You're plenty well saturated. You will thump. You will thump in the in out here in interior PA as well. Some towns in eastern central Mass can get 10-14. That's possible, yes. Very possible. We'll take some northern Jersey. Look at that. Again, this is during the kind of the peak time frame of your snow for you. Again, don't worry about the HR specifics, just the soundings themselves. It won't be too far off with the soundings. Be very minimal. The soundings is the takeaway. Don't take away the P-type map and the rain snow line. Take more so focus of the temperatures in the column. The HRR will do, since it's such a high resolution, it will depict this stuff better. Yes, we'll do Boston. Don't worry, we'll do Boston as well for peak soundings, right? This is for those of you not sure, vertical column. It's a 3D vertical column of the atmosphere. Technically 2D for us, but visualize it of being, if you were to look straight up, look, I just look straight up, even though you can't see me, but if you were to look straight up, and you looked straight up in the atmosphere, and you went from you all the way up, right? This is where you are now, and you were looking all the way up. This is what it is, from your backyard all the way up in the atmosphere. I'm glad you're excited. Flakes start flying Sunday night. southern New Hampshire. And what happens here is 550, and in this long here, it really drops down here almost to, you look, where your minus 20 meets your minus 10 is where your DGZ is. I don't like to just rely on this. And your minus 2 omega here, absolutely very heavy snow. Northern Jersey here, I think. Is that close to Bergen County? Somewhere close. Again, I don't know if I doubt it stays this snow this well, so I'm not gonna click on some of these. But DC here, for example, right, thumping. This is a little bit wetter of a snow, so but thunder snow theoretically possible. Look at the change in temperature over the column here. We could have thunder snow potentially as well during this. That's very heavy snow, maybe a little closer to 10-to-1 ratios, but again, you're going to accumulate so well. The flakes, you have so much lift in the dendritic growth zone is very important, along with saturation and temperature. Again, out here, Hudson Valley, for example, look how good your ratios are going to be. You're still, 26, choose a little bit, maybe a little bit more here. Yeah, there we go. Look at here, out here at Hudson Valley. Almost minus 2 omega, and look at this. Look at your dendritic growth zone, and it drops all the way down here. You're 22 at the surface as well. And look at that. Dendritic growth zone really focusing, especially from close to 600 down to about 800 millibars. The lower your dendritic growth zone is, so where you see DGZ here, the lower this is in the column, the higher the ratios. So the lower this is, the higher the ratios. The higher this is, the lower the ratios, meaning your snow accumulates better the lower that is in the column. So for anybody that doesn't want to do the minus 20, minus 10 thing, Northwest Connecticut, they're going to thump as well tomorrow. Look at that. Those are great ratios. This is an elevated spot too here, probably somewhere near Torrington. Great ratios here too. 24 at the surface, probably 12, 15 to 1 out there. Western Mass, I got a lot of Berks people. So HRR doesn't really show much of the best dynamics here, but look at your ratios. Even if you did this, nearly minus 1 omega here in this sounding, and there's probably some stronger soundings, but look at this. Below 550, all the way down to about 800. Again, similar, super cold. And then this is when we start getting really interesting. This back half of the system. So, here's a Berk sounding I'll take another one, for example. Look how cold you are. And look at this is heavy snow too. There's good dynamics out here too on this run. This is extremely heavy snow. These are well over 20-to-1 ratios here. Sounding from 600 to almost 800 millibars in the atmosphere, and you're 17 degrees at the surface with over minus 2 omega. Those are over 20 to 1. I mean, they're probably dang near 25 to 1. Like, I'm not even like those are extremely high ratios on the backside here. And what you do here, you're going to do the same, right? You finish that snow out here and, near central Jersey, western New York. Look at this. As you start getting colder, even as the best dynamics start to move away, you still have, this is still heavy snow. You'll start to see that you'll get colder in your atmosphere here. You'll get colder here in the atmosphere here. You say upgrade to winter storm warnings in New York City likely. Yeah, there's probably a good shot New York City sees winter storm warnings. Yeah, we'll do one for central PA. Yes, Ashan will do one for New York City as well. And yes, we'll do one for Boston as well during peak. Here's peak New York City. You can see here thumping. You can see that too. Probably, a little closer to 10 to 1 at this point, but still pretty solid. About 10 to 1, just over, but plenty good lift. And then look what happens here. You get colder here on the backside, but you still have good dynamics. So look what happens. New York City here, this sounding. I mean, I basically took this off the ocean. So you still have, this is still good enough lift. It looks like a lot less, and you're like, Brady, that doesn't look like as much as you were just showing me. But this lift here is still enough when you're still super well saturated like you are in your dendritic growth zone. You see how it's dropping now? It was above. This line was high, a little bit higher. Now it's below 550. It's almost 575, probably close to right around here, down to about 700 millibars, and you're 25 at the surface now. Your ratios continue to improve here, and the same on Long Island. Long Island will thump after too. Long Island will thump if you you do see any mix. So even again, as this thing moves out here, New York City, look at this. I'm telling you, this is heavy snow. This is heavy snow. Not out of the sky necessarily as much, but snowfall rates this is still heavy. Look now. Look where your dendritic growth zone, look where your line is now. Now it's almost at 600. Your DGZ is now almost at 600, and it's below 700 now, and you're 24 at the surface. And you have maybe about minus 0.6, 0.7 omega. We're very well saturated. You'll continue. This is like the fluffy snow that accumulates very well. And the HR usually does pretty good at depicting the soundings for this stuff. Doesn't do well necessarily at picking up on the QPF, maybe the best, all the general stuff. But this little synoptic stuff, to be able to take these little small mesoscale details, it will. Jersey Shore might be able to finish us some snow as well. All right, that's thumping. That's thumping Jersey Shore as well. This is all, it's moderate to heavy snow is what we're dealing with here. This ain't going to be a lot of light snow. Only light snow is going to be out here in PA. That's it. Even these ratios would be insane out here in central PA. These ratios would still be insane. Your dendritic growth zone is from 650 to about 850. That's like dang near lake effect. And you still have -1. I'm telling you, and HR will underdo what the look is on radar for that. HR will underdo the look on that for radar. I'm telling you, man, I love, when I was looking at these soundings, I was ecstatic. I was like, dang, we're like, it's not even showing some of these best dynamics, and we're still cooking. Here's kind of closer again. It doesn't do so well here, in my opinion, with some of that dynamics here, but you can see close to Boston, general idea, just metro west of Boston. It's probably by Framingham right now. Thumping, pretty decent ratios. This is probably about when we start getting the point of the storm. Once you start getting into the heaviest snow, from that point on, ratios will only improve. I'm sorry, Levi, I don't want to know more. Sorry. Once ratios start improving, once that heaviest snow starts happening, ratios will only continue to improve from that point on as well. That's the thing with this. You see this here? This is like another hour or two later. See how we're continuing to drop the dendritic growth zone here? Right around 550 down to almost 700. Just southwest of Boston here. And here's Boston itself. You can see the same thing. 26 at the surface. Just continued. I mean, these soundings are just real supportive for really good snow ratios. Because that's the thing. Remember our moisture feed that wraps into this system? Even though that cold air is pressing, all that's going to do, in my opinion, is better consolidate the dynamics. I think we'll be better consolidated than what that Euro showed here. I think we'll be better consolidated. This was still a beauty of a run. Still a beauty of a run. But I think we'll be even better consolidated than what that showed. And this is what I started to talk about. You see, now this is 2 a.m. The heaviest snow is starting to kick out. And you look at this model. This is, I'm telling you, this is key here. This is key here. I know you looking at this like, what are you looking at here? Look at these soundings here. That's moderate snow, at least. That's at least moderate snow rates. That your snow. This is Long Island. Look where your dendritic growth zone is. You're completely saturated. Remember, you see So there's red line and the green line. The green line is the dew point line. The red line is the temperature line. So those two need to be together, but they don't need to be together up here, just from the dendritic growth zone down. So from the top of the dendritic growth zone, so wherever that -20 is, which I highlight every time, right here, down to -10. This is like a lake effect sounding, just without as much lift. And you have just a little bit enough here. Your ratios at this point will be ridiculous. I'm telling you, ridiculous. These are over 20-to-1 ratios on the temperature column here. And if you were heavily snowing, which you aren't, they would, it'd be ridiculous, even more ridiculous than they're going to be at this point. And I go further out here, some of these soundings. This is heavy snow. These are thunder snow is possible in New York City. Yes, these are you wouldn't believe me, but these are 1 to 3 inch per hour rates. I've seen these setups. You still have good enough mid-level dynamics to work out of the storm. And since, remember, it's still a little bit progressive, so some of this gets stretched out a little bit. Some of these bands, they get stretched out along this area here a little bit, since it's still not going to be perfect. I didn't see the double text, Weathermaster. But look at this. Again, 17 degrees at the surface. Your dendritic growth zone is about 650 to about 800 here. And you have a -1 omega. These are easy these are 1 to 3 inch per hour rates right here, even though the heaviest snow is left. Same thing, Connecticut, a little bit less lift. So, but still accumulating snow. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how well that's accumulating. You go a little bit more northeast Connecticut, you can see it a little bit better there. Thumping snow. And you can't underestimate this. I'm telling you, it's going to be at this point of the storm, radar echoes are going to be light green to maybe dark green at most. It's going to be light green to dark green at most. And so what this is going to do is on radar, right? Light green to darker green, maybe at this point. It's not going to be any more of those yellows, and maybe you could see some oranges maybe on radar tomorrow. So you're not going to see any more of those, but it's going to accumulate maybe almost just as well because of how cold you're going to be at this point. You take one, that's a fantastic snow sounding right there. And what it really comes down to is it's more sexy, those big lift soundings in the omega. But this right here is going to accumulate extremely well still. Your -20 is about 820, 825 maybe. And you're at about 660, 650, the top of your dendritic growth zone. Completely saturated as well. That's the thing. Completely saturated as well. So you continue to. So I'm curious here. Is you're still saturated? You're still close. You're still close. So you could still be snowing. We'll see. HR can sometimes underdo the moisture a little bit. So yeah, you'd still be snowing here. Wouldn't be as good, but think about it. You're like, people are going to finish this. Some people will finish single digits and snowing in the interior. Some people will. I'm telling you, they'll be single digits and still snowing. And a lot of others will be teens or tens and snowing. And finish closer to New York City, Long Island, you'll probably be more low 20s or high teens at the end of your storm while still snowing towards the very end. New Hampshire, for example, you will thump as well, as you can see, with pretty good ratios. You got some Maine folks, so keep it from Maine as well. Same thing. Very good ratios. Again, not amazing in the beginning part of the thumpage, but as you progress, you'll continue to improve ratios. Love what I'm seeing here, that expansion on satellite currently. See this lift? continuing to expand here. Seeing a lot of moisture along this boundary here. Love it. Firing. Look at this. All the way back here across the Pacific. You're crossing streams here. Your moisture flow goes back into the Eastern Pacific with this storm. This is where your moisture source is going to come from here. From the Eastern Pacific across the Gulf of Mexico, more directly from the Gulf of Mexico. Fantastic moisture source here. So you're going to be so well saturated and with that cold air. I'm telling you, I think that band is going to be stronger than modeled. I think it's going to be stronger than modeled. I'm just there are too many good. I know I sound like I'm teetering that line of excitement and analysis and mixing them too much, but my excitement comes from what I see on the analysis, not the other way around, not making my analysis exciting. And if I ever start doing that, I'm going to no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do anything to myself, but I just anytime that line even gets remotely close, I shut it. I go, no. What's going to be right? What's going to be right? Anything as a forecaster. Number one most important thing, get it right. Number two, see how much snow you can get. that's the second most important thing. But number one is making sure that we can forecast the storm as accurately as I can for y'all. So yeah, so keep throwing those questions in here. I'm glad with all of the growth we had today. Again, you can check out here's YouTube. We didn't add any more subscribers here during the stream. And if you're just newly subbed, you can shout out. We've added 6 more new subs here during the stream. So shout out. We've added over 90. We've added 91 subscribers since just earlier today. Just fantastic. The growth is unbelievable as we are sponsored by Jeep in the background here, by the background music. So fantastic. Ciara McElroy, most of Mass under a winter storm. Why are the winter storm warnings late to the party, Southern New Hampshire? NWS Gray does the winter storm warnings for New Hampshire, Bobby. So you'd have to look at them. Damn, Joe, you doing running from the snow? Enjoy the snow. Should be fun. Brady, stop. I'm gonna believe. Ladies, don't have a good trip. Drive back. You're going back to college, John. Okay. Appreciate you, John. You go too, my man. You go. Stop. I'm gonna believe. Yes. No, the storm is not happening yet. It's not happening until tomorrow p.m. Most of Mass. Under it, do you think New York? And I'll answer your question in a second, Jessica, as well. Shout out Central Mass. Shout out Douglas. Do you think New York suburbs, Northeast Jersey could see 6 to 8? Yes. Could Northeast Jersey get 7 to 10? Yes. My forecast for New York City, Northeast Jersey, Western Long Island is going to remain 4 to 8. I'm pretty sure when I make the map. It will be somewhere close to that range, even if it's a different listed number. Like if it's, I will probably do that though. Again, I don't like to conform. So, the thinking right now is, I don't want to spoil too much of the map, but, there might be an area of like 7 to 12, an area of 4 to 8, maybe a 2 to 5 area and coding to 2 is maybe how I'll do it, but I don't have just a general idea. I like the surprise of the snow map still and the excitement and the anticipation towards that. So, I'll get off stream. I'll take a little break, and my break will be breaking down model runs actually and analyzing. At this point, it's more breaking down model runs and comparing it to analysis currently. So that's what I will be doing is comparing models to analysis to see where we're at. And then I will put the snow map out as well on X. And I do the snow map for basically just northeast of DC to Maine is where I do it. How do you figure the ratios, Jessica? How do I do it? So it's actually very simple. I know it sounds complex. So I'll take a sounding. We'll take one from out here in Western Mass, for example. And ratios, so 10 to 1 is 1 inch of QPF, 1 inch of precipitation, it equals 10 inches of snow. That's 10 to 1. And so on average, your dendritic growth zone is typically from around 5 to 600. It's typically around 5 to 600. So you look at the temperature, the red line in here in the column. If this red line is very close to the zero, this is your 0 degree line here, Celsius. So all these temperatures are Celsius. And so your dendritic growth zone is located from minus 20 to minus 10. This is the most important part when looking at ratios. So your dendritic growth zone needs to be saturated. Your DGZ, short to call it. Your DGZ, for me or whatever, it's easier to call it dendritic growth zone, but it needs to be saturated. It needs to be saturated, meaning the green line, the dew point line, has to be close to the red line, the temperature line. Those two need to be close to each other. More and most importantly, in the dendritic growth zone. And from the top of the dendritic growth zone down, your green line has to be close to your red line. And the closer it is in the dendritic growth zone, especially, the better snowfall production you get. So you get better, there's different kinds of snowflakes. So the better accumulating snowflake will have the most saturation and most lift here. So I'll look at this line then, and I'll look in the dendritic growth zone exclusively, and I'll see how much omega is short is just for the amount of lift, how strong those dynamics are in that area, and that will indicate how much lift is in the dendritic growth zone. And the more lift there is, the better the ratios are as well. The heavier the snowfall rates to go along with that. And then you look at the temperature column, and the closer it is to zero, the wetter the snow looked like this. They'd be much poorer. Your ratios would be much poorer. They would be less than 10 to 1, maybe, or closer to 10 to 1. But since our temperature line is farther away here, you can see it's going to be above 10 to 1 on this sounding. And since you see typically it's about 5 to 600 millibars, you're actually going to be you're from about 6 to almost 800 millibars. So that's below typically your average area for where the dendritic growth zone is for 10 to 1. So from here you can tell that ratios are going to be above 10 to 1 because you're well saturated in your dendritic growth zone, and your dendritic growth zone is lower in the column, the vertical column of the atmosphere. And there is enough lift here present to still get decent snowfall rates at this point. Just enough. If you see the grays here, that means there's not good lift. You don't have enough lift present to really get much at all. Poor dendritic growth zone, that is. Once you start seeing those yellows and oranges, that's enough, at least, if you're well saturated and cold enough to get decent. Now, if this line is closer and you have minimal lift, then it's very wet snow. It's not good. It's not good ratios. If that red line, that temperature line, is too close to the 0 degree line, or if it even overlaps, the 0 degree line, then it's not going to be snow. It's either going to, if it comes back and refreezes and then it has enough time to refreeze, then it's sleet. If that red line goes over and comes back too late, then it's going to be freezing rain, potentially. Or if it's there for too long, it's going to be rain. So that's kind of how I look at soundings to be able to identify snow ratios. This, in my opinion, is what makes this is absolutely critical to my snowfall map and how I make it. This is one of the most important parts here. And this is how I identify ratios. This is how I'm able to tell if storms can also overperform potentially more. This was a key part of the last snowfall, like that. It wasn't really a map, but that little, that thing I put out, I called it the Walmart map. I put that thing out, and the reason, as people are like, that's a little bullish, isn't it? I mean, 1 to 4 inches is not a crazy forecast, but not a lot were showing it. And I was, some of the guidance, came on late, and I was like, I think we'll be able to do it because we're going to get pretty good ratio. It's going to be pretty fluffy, and there's going to be enough lift in the dendritic growth zone, and we're going to be cold enough that it's going to support, decent banding, even though it's not going to be very heavy snowfall. So that's why I'm pretty, pretty intrigued about how this plays out, just in general. What do you think Central Jersey latest totals are? Depends on where in Central Jersey. It really depends on where you're at in Central Jersey. You'll finish as heavy snow. You'll finish as heavy snow, and that should be enough for at least a few inches, I think, in Central Jersey, at least. Maybe 3 to 6 in Central Jersey. It's a little hard to say, though. It depends on how far south you are. If you're farther north in Central Jersey, then you're going to work out better. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know exactly where Jackson, New Jersey is, but you'll finish regardless. You will finish as snow. So it's probably 3 to 6, 4 to 8 in Central Jersey, if I had to guess, somewhere about there. You'll probably stay mostly snow in Central Jersey. You'll probably stay mostly snow. So I'll lean maybe more 4 to 8 than 3 to 6. Yeah, I'll lean a little bit more closer to 4. Probably a floor of about 2 to 4 inches. Probably closer to 4 to 8, and if you boom, like 6 to 10. Probably, I think it will be hard to get more than 8 or 9 inches in Central Jersey, but not impossible. If there's so much lift, if there's plenty enough lift present through the whole dendritic growth zone, then maybe it might be maybe it might be enough. Now, if there is some crazy thing that guidance is missing out on, and that I'm kind of missing out on, then maybe that floor, that it's more of a floor, where you end up maybe with only more 2 to 4 versus 4 to 8 there, Dan. So hopefully that helps. Average Yankee fan. Yankees suck. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a Red Sox fan. So thoughts on Long Island? Long Island should make out pretty well. Really, anywhere west of the central part of the island, I think should be able to get 4 to 8 inches. And then eastern part of the island is, 2 to 5, 3 to 7 on the eastern part. I know it's a lot larger range, but hard to say depending on how much you mix on the eastern part of the island out there. I don't think you mix as little as the HRR shows here. And the thing is, HRR Long Island, you will finish with good ratios. You'll finish with even on Eastern Long Island, you will finish with pretty decent ratios. Sign pregnant. I kind of want the guys. I think the prospects are going to be really good bodies. So I kind of want to let those guys. Be on our team. They'll be affordable, and I think they can dominate. But that's my Red Sox take there. Now that blocking is gone, new pattern looking amazing for multiple storms. Yes, our blocking is now the polar vortex, so it's a direct cold air source for storms. I just put my forecast together, and it has New York City with 3 to 7 inches. What are you thinking? I'm thinking 4 to 8 in New York City currently, roughly. A floor scenario, I think, of about 2 to 5 in New York City. Current forecast of 4 to 8, and a boom scenario of 8 to 12, maybe more 8 to 11ish. I'm sure you've set up, but what are you thinking totals wise for East Central PA/Allentown area? Allentown should make out pretty well. If you're talking in here, if you're talking this area here, probably at least 4 to 8. I know 4 to 9, maybe 5 to 9. Kind of a floor out there of probably probably a 3 to 6 floor, probably about 5 to 9 of a general forecast, and then a boom scenario of like 9 to 12 plus of a boom scenario. I did not see the Canadian for the 24th, but that is another time frame I'm watching. All right. Do you guys want me to keep breaking down? I'm going to give you guys a little bit of, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of power here. I don't usually do this. Do you want to keep breaking down this storm? Because we got a good amount of people in here right now. You can keep asking questions, and I won't mind continuing to break down. But I do also at some point want to break down. We have more storms to track here. We have more storms to track. So I do want to talk about those briefly as well. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? We got a lot of people. I'm giving you guys a voice. We got like 30 people in here right now on YouTube, and God knows how many in X. We've had already over 1.1 thousand come in here in X, so that is fantastic. So you want to get all right? You want to start talk a little bit about, because we do have more storms, guys. This is not it. We're not done yet. So I do want to talk about some of that stuff at some point. And you guys can keep asking questions too about what's going, or about snowfall thoughts, and I can keep answering questions about that stuff. But Twisted got it out right away, so he wants to talk about the future pattern. Let's do it. So going on here, what we got cooking is, here's the setup here. This is going to be a historic storm for the South, and I've gained some new Southern follow, so I'll briefly discuss the impacts here. So the key is with this system, I broke it down on stream last night as well. Are you seeing totals climbing or going down for Central Jersey area? Relative to yesterday, I say you have a better shot to see more than what it was looking like potentially than yesterday for sure. I don't like to waver too much, but I was a little concerned. I was more concerned about the mix line yesterday for places further east than I am today. But with this here, what you see here, so models are going to, I'm telling you, if there was ever a last second crazy shift, this one was kind of early on. We saw it, models caught it on, like three days out. Models were like, okay, we picked this. If there was ever a crazy last second shift in guidance, this would be one of those storms. This would be one of those storms. What's going to happen here is out here. So this is for the 22nd now. There's a storm threat, and this includes, all of this breakdown is relevant for anybody really in this area. Anybody in this area, this is all relevant for. So if you're curious about kind of how this plays out here, it's all relevant. So what I'm watching here is there's two biggest things here. And if you were on stream earlier when I was with Gerald, shout out my man, shameless plug again, hit that like button if you haven't already on YouTube, and subscribe as well. If you're new here, consider subscribing. On X, appreciate y'all. Just do what you're doing, and I love y'all on there as well. Appreciate it. The thing I'm watching here is we had about 10, almost 10 runs in a row of models underestimating our Atlantic ridge from about the time now until the next storm, until this storm. And so what I'm curious to see happen here is, so this is our current storm all the way up here, kind of. Our storm moves up further north, and then we get a little bit of stream separation, but it's still connected here along this lobe of this polar vortex stretch that sets up here. So we have tons. Cold air will not be an issue. It's the thing that gets you so excited about the storm, actually. But it is pressing a little bit too much to get mid-Atlantic Northeast people involved for the moment. But if there was ever a drastic shift, this could be one. So this is why Southern folks as well, all these people, your totals are nowhere near locked in yet. Nowhere near locked in yet. And you got to keep looking at this. So I know a lot of models show it kind of for the totals for this area mostly, some of the heavier totals, but these could shift further northwest. I mean, this is going to be an historic storm for the South here. I mean, Houston is in play to see snow, guys. Multiple inches of snow in Houston. Baton Rouge could see, like somewhere in Louisiana, we're going to be talking about more than a half foot of snow here. Not northern Louisiana either. That did happen, I believe, in 2020 or 2021. there was a pretty good southern storm down there, and it was mainly northern. It was like this area here. So it's like it wasn't crazy unexpected. But what's going to happen is this boundary sets up here along the Gulf. So I'm curious to see as well, before I talk about that, how strong does this Atlantic ridge get? If this thing is more, if models underestimate this again, this opens up the opportunity significantly for places for Atlanta, further east up here, further north, Louisiana, northern Alabama, Mississippi, Alabama, western Carolinas, like Charlotte, for example, southeastern Virginia, mid-Atlantic, and I-95 potentially as well. And more margin for error. The further south you go, the more margin for error to be able to get the, less, there's less you have to do to get more snow the further south you go here. Theoretically, maybe southeastern New England is maybe the only farther north place than like New York City with this setup, for example. So again, this is the next storm that's coming in. We're talking about right now on the 22nd. There's another one coming. And what happens here now is and again, I'm questioning how strong does that Atlantic ridge get? If we see the same models underestimate sometimes or overestimate at times too. Models struggle with the strengths of ridges all the time. All the time, it's the number one culprit in like in terms of maybe not number one, but just eyeballing. It's one of the biggest culprits for what models miss on here. So you're going to get an opportunity here. If this continues to amplify, it will also allow more moisture to get pulled up, allowing a better opportunity to amplify. So you'll get heavier totals as well, at least in the south and maybe mid-Atlantic immediately as well. And so the key is then this polar vortex piece has not dropped down yet. That's the key here. And this is what sets up everything. Look at this. This doesn't even start dropping down until tomorrow night as our storm's happening. Look at this piece here. This is what sets everything up. You see this get strung out here, up here in the north, towards the North Pole. I don't know specifically yet. If I had to guess, same time, but I really like to enjoy the snowstorms. So it might be a little bit on the earlier side before the heaviest snow starts moving in. And that's probably when we'll go live tomorrow night, if I had to guess. I want to do it before I see the heaviest snow so I can enjoy the snowstorm tomorrow as well, guys. Believe it or not, I do love to enjoy it. So I don't want to miss out on that. And we can kind of break things down as it's happening, live stream, live track, what's going on. But this piece up here, all the way up by the North Pole right now, where does this come down? If this comes down further west, this opens up opportunities for further west places in the south, and also opens up maybe mid-Atlantic northeast. I-95, coastal northeast, not interior. Where does this drop down? This whole evolution here, where does this piece drop down? If this drops down further west, heights rise, confluence from the PV here backs off more. And this short wave this upper level energy is going to be able to slide in, and you'll see a much better stream interaction. And you could get a significant snowstorm for this whole area. This whole area could get a significant snowstorm. It would be exclusively I-95 mid-Atlantic northeast too. It would not be interior. And it could be a scraper as well. It's possible. It could be a scraper. If it does hit, it will be all of a sudden massive totals. So it's unlikely right now for the mid-Atlantic and northeast. But it is very much worth bringing up the potential. You can see the GFS show it. Let's see, what did the GFS do with the ridge on that run? Raised heights a little bit. No, it didn't. But what you did, this is the P-type map for this. And you can see it looks strung out. It looks kind of messy on the GFS. I think the GFS definitely a system that it will struggle with regardless. I would say Euro or Canadian probably is a better bet to handle this one more effectively. And you can see the Euro, I think, does a little bit better job of amplifying along the boundary there. But you really, you haven't seen the trends you needed in. There's no really good sampling for this right now. It hasn't happened yet. Our storm, it still hasn't happened for tomorrow. And this hasn't dropped down yet. This doesn't drop down until right before, the day before, basically. This doesn't drop down until. And then we start getting U.S. sampling for this, and we'll be able to, we'll obviously know the day before a lot better. But if there was ever a crazy last second shift for a storm, this would be kind of one of those ones. So currently, this favors south and maybe southern mid-Atlantic. Maybe you can get a scraper here for up to Delmarva. It's possible. It's possible you can get a scraper and some accumulation up there. That's possible. And it's possible for the mid-Atlantic to get pretty well hit as well. It's not impossible here. But for now, this favors the south exclusively more so than the Northeast and the mid-Atlantic. And then there's another one after that. There's another one after that, right here in this time frame. And the Euro really kind of takes off with this now, almost. GFS a little bit weaker. You can see a little bit more progressive. How much snow southeast Jersey? Wait, Dan, haven't I asked? Weren't you from Central Jersey? Southeast Jersey, not as much. You just have friends there or something? Tomorrow? Southeast Jersey, less probably. Probably more 1 to 3, 3 to 6 max, maybe, in Southeast Jersey. Probably not as good opportunities there. Maybe 6 to 8 in a boom scenario in Southeast Jersey. Bernie really just looks at 500 guys and he bases it exclusively off that. So I don't really focus too much on Bernie's map. Okay, family, yeah. I was like, didn't I already say? I thought you already asked for your. I was like, oh, you got family there. So Southeast Jersey a little bit less than where you're gonna work with there in Central Jersey, but still something. You'll finish as snow on Southeast Jersey. And especially if you're not the coastline in Southeast Jersey, then you'll be able to make out a little bit better. So here on the Euro, though, this is another time frame to watch here. In this one, I like the odds. I've always liked the odds a little bit better, but I was rightfully so, skeptical enough of the 22nd. But here on the 24th, 25th, there's another opportunity. And this one, it may not show yet on the P-type map. I don't know. Does it show it? It doesn't show it. It doesn't. But I'm telling you, this is another high ceiling potential setup here. I know it doesn't show it, but 500 is way better than you think. This is too progressive of a look as it stands right now. But what you have here is you have a deep digging trough here. This is a more classic setup here for a snowstorm, in my opinion. And it will really depend on some of the strength of the western ridging here. But what you have here, you continue to have Atlantic ridging, and you work pretty vertical. Now, one thing I would like to see is continue to get some stream separation here between our systems. Give this more time to kind of amplify. I'm fine. You want to keep this western ridge amplified and press against this. I'm fine with doing that. But but you'll have to offset that by increasing the strength of the Atlantic ridge and separating that. Otherwise, let's see if we can get this western ridge to back off, so that way we can allow this to kind of amplify early and then pull out. Amplify early and then slide out to the east. In this one, is not just northeast as well. This one theoretically has some southern snow potential as well. This one does have some southern snow potential as well. It would be more closer for the Carolinas if it was. OZ, 18Z. In my opinion, I like the OZ look better, just personally. I know it's closer, but 18Z, I like the OZ look better personally. And if models do underestimate that Atlantic Ridge, it could be all systems go. And it took off the Atlantic Ridge a little bit. I like the 500 millibar Fort signature. If you had the Atlantic ridging you did on that run with that 500 look, you probably would have got a pretty decent snowstorm hit on this one. And let's see, what does the Canadian have? Yeah, Canadian shows that a lot better. You can see that. I will say, hey, if we want to start cherry picking a little bit, because why not? Canadian in the medium range, not too bad. Not too bad. You got to give, I know the Canadian close up. A lot of people are going to focus on that. Canadian was the first one to sniff this thing out, guys. First one to sniff this out. Staten Island, New York tomorrow. It should be good for 4 to 8 plus for Staten Island. Out there by New York City, you should do just fine. That's where I'm sticking with. I think I'm very confident in the New York City forecast right now. Let's see what the Canadian did. There you go. There's the beauty. And this is what I mean here. This is a high, and you see how the South gets involved here on two. The South would get involved here too. So, and it wouldn't be just snow. Maybe is that a 940? Look at that. It's a 938 up there in the North Atlantic. If you peep that, so that's fun. But there is another. This is why I'm saying it didn't look like much on the Euro, and maybe not a ton on the GFS. We can look at the P-type map on the GFS. It may not look like a lot. And it shows a little bit better on the GFS. It may not look like a lot, but there's a real. There's a high ceiling potential with this system. This is still far out. This is still 5 days out, and we have 2 storms still to go. So when you have 2 big storms that still need to move through, and a lot of polar vortex stretching to make it sound fancy, there's a lot for models to figure out. 2 more subs to 600? No way. Are you serious, Dan? Are you serious? Oh, that's incredible. Fire me up. That's 7. Oh, you guys are awesome. Wow, that's freaking awesome. Love it. And great day. I've had more subs today than probably the last few weeks combined. So this is such a great. I can't thank Gerald enough for having me on. He didn't need to have me on, but man, it was such a blessing. Thoughts on Nassau County, New York, there on Long Island. Face reveals, no shot. I don't need you. I don't need the trolls. Twisted. I don't need the. I don't need the. I don't need the trolls. I will say, I don't know if I will ever at some point. At some point potentially, but when I do, you'll be surprised to what you know about me. Yeah, you'll be surprised. I'm not as much who you think I am as I am. No, I'm not a criminal. That's not what I meant by that. But you'll be surprised. I have a lot of things I balance in my life, so. You would. I know it's hard to believe, but weather is not my single greatest passion in the world. So maybe that's a sneak peek for those that are interested. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know Bernie's forecast. I don't really care too much. Not 601. Yeah, Torsten. Yeah, real good. Of course. I'm just your analysis boy, right? That's what you said on X. Yeah. Keep talking like that. See what's going to happen. You'll get banned. Queso, ban him. Sorry, Nassau County, American weather. Yeah, Long Island should be able to go. Western Long Island should be able to make out pretty well. I think probably 3 to 7, 4 to 8 for Nassau County. I would probably lean there. Boom scenario of like 6 to of like 7 to 10 in a boom scenario for Long Island. Long Island should be good. This will be a good storm for Long Island. You'll thump too. Long Island will go straight to thumpage after. It's going to be awesome. Once you turn the clock in Long Island, you won't go back, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fireworks. This is why I love these storms so much. Give me this kind of storm, give me these totals in this short amount of time than over a longer duration. fireworks in a short period of time is awesome. I love these kind of systems. But yes, that's tomorrow's storm. Quickly, you can keep asking questions about. I will happily answer anything with tomorrow's storm, given that's the most important thing right now for our live streams. But this storm has significant potential too, and the GEM highlights that a little bit. Don't sleep on that. You can see that here. What we create anytime. There's a good post about Pete Bouchard, long wave ridging and long wave troughing. That's a classic setup for a big snowstorm, and that's why we're so active right now. You have significant Atlantic ridging present and significant western ridging. Cold air has to filter into that, so you get continuous cold air on tap. That's why we're seeing all these mini polar vortex stretching events. This cold air filters down here and it sinks down, so you get deep digging troughs. Classic setups for big snowstorms. And then if you're able to amplify that trough, you turn it into an East Coast snowstorm. If not, it turns into a southern/mid-Atlantic storm. How much you looking at totals wise? For me personally, American weather, I'd probably forecast something like 7 to 12 plus for my area. Personally, if that's what you're asking, somewhere around there, I think I'll be able to make out pretty well with this storm. Come on, two of you, just subscribe. Do we get two more new people that can subscribe to the YouTube maybe? That'd be awesome. Hit 600 live on stream. 601 face reveal. No, not doing that. But just kidding. I got to keep it separate. I like the balance. So I still break down the same way, but maybe eventually one day. But yes, in storm, and look at the signature. Strong 500 millibar signature too. If it's broader, it won't look quite as pretty. But you know, if it's too sharp, then maybe it's not able to have enough room to breathe. If it's too sharp. So there could be some threading the needle that has to be done here in this setup. But this is something that I would be live streaming if we did not have two storms before that to talk about. We'd probably be all talking about this right now on WX Twitter. We just have two more storms in front. That's the best part about an active pattern is you always have another storm to talk about. And that's the gorgeous thing. I'm telling you, on Tuesday, we're probably going to be looking at this thing and being like, well, we gotta keep a close eye on this. Potentially. Obviously, hopefully. Maybe not. But we'll see. And you can see that kind of on 700 what happens. A lot of these events, if you get significant 500 look, that's just more the merrier. That's just more the merrier. But a lot of these events, they're thermodynamic driven with such good cold air pressing and the warm air flow pushing up the coast, moving up the coast thanks to our Atlantic ridging. So our high pressure over the Atlantic is what forces moisture up the coast and is what cashes in potentially for people here in the Northeast and mainly along the eastern U.S. And so the fact that now maybe we have a big time 500 millibar setup as well. Believe it or not, this is not a big time 500 millibar setup. It's a good one for what it is, but it's a little bit more of a stranger one. This would be more of a classic. American weather, last question, LOL. You think they shift the warnings east or they just leave what they have? For New York City, Long Island, I don't know. Yes, I guess rip TikTok for those that care. I don't as much personally. I care for the people that were sincere, making money, good content creators, but personally, I didn't use it, so it doesn't affect me as much. Sorry if that's a selfish answer, but I never used TikTok, so. Never really used TikTok. Yeah, so I don't know how they do the winter. We can pull that up. You guys want to pull that up? NWS. Actually, you can look at. I want to look at the discussion as well, too. But before, let me wrap this up quickly, and then we can kind of get breaking down. When is Tyler, Texas, getting snow? Is that East Texas? You might have a. Is that East Texas? No, I don't want to type in the frickin' state. Just show me the map. Home. Here's the warnings. So we get, I don't know if it'll let me zoom in here, but there we go. But yeah, I mean, they all do it differently. They all do it differently. So East Texas, I just talked. I will briefly, my man. Sorry, I don't know how much. I don't know how much snow Tyler, Texas is getting. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna BS you and tell you something that I don't specifically know. I still think it's a little. I know it's coming close, but it's still a little tough to tell. If this backs up, this trough here backs up, and this amplifies more, heaviest snow totals will shift a little bit further northeast. So, sorry, I don't remember specifically where. I remember seeing it. I'm pretty decent with geography, even out in my typical non-forecast region. Um, then the total shift further north and east. If this presses down more and this gets spread out, then your totals are going to shift further south, and anything in between is obviously in between for what it is now. So that is how you would get more or less snow. The timing is um, Tuesday here for Texas. Did I miss my area questions? I don't know. I don't know if you asked a question or not. I don't know if you asked a question, so I can't tell you whether or not. John Bush, yeah, winter storm by committee. Yes, twisted. If you had to guess, what do you think the odds are the second recent storm hits the Mid Atlantic? Hits the Mid Atlantic. You mean the January 22nd one? Um, Not bad actually. To get at least a scraping, I think you could get at least a scraping out there in the Mid Atlantic, especially Delmarva in northeastern Virginia, and for far eastern Virginia especially. DC might be a little bit tougher. So that those are kind of my thoughts with that. What time, Tyler, Texas? Again, this would if you do see snow in Texas on Tuesday, it will be Tuesday. If you do see snow, it will be Tuesday. Tuesday is your time frame to get snow in Texas. I kind of like I kind of like where the GM's at. Just and now is a good middle ground between everything. I feel like that's maybe not a bad bet. So I'll kind of um, I'll kind of, I think the GM's maybe not a terrible bet for what we got right now, but there could be drastic changes in totals and location for the heaviest snow. So I wouldn't assume anything yet. I know it's very close, especially for Texas and Louisiana. This thing is very close to happening. And also, these are very fickle because if you don't know what fickle, I hope you know what fickle means. Yeah, very volatile. These setups here. This is amplifying along a boundary. This boundary here along from all the way. This is across the Pacific. Where it pops, how much it does, allows it to amplify. Where this could be very, very volatile along the Gulf Coast. So some of these totals could be drastically different. Yes, I just told you. What time? Oh, sorry, I did not say. The timing of this would be late Monday night, so early Tuesday morning, um, into pretty much just the duration of the day, from early Tuesday morning to Tuesday p.m. That's your time frame for the system. That is your time frame, and there's a very good chance to get at least several inches of snow from this. Very good chance to get several inches of snow. This writing is fine. Yes. Yes, Twisted. I'm clearly an English major, obviously. We hit 600? Did we really, Dan? Hey, fire me up, 601. 601, baby. No, Twisted, I'm not doing it. Shut up. So hopefully that helps, RSHL. or risotto, whatever you're, how you like to pronounce it. But yes. By the way, thank you for the amazing cover. Is there any way to donate or support you other than likes and shares? I mean, theoretically, you could DM me I could DM you my Venmo if you really wanted to be so generous uh, on X, but not yet. The key, if you want to know how you can support me, it's by watching it, watching as for those that really care about my personal progress. It's Trell, sorry, RSA Trell. Um, if you really do care about ways you can help my channel, um, I'm glad to have some invested people invest in me personally. It would be to just watch the streams, as many of them as you can, to get as many watch hours as possible. So the more people that watch, that's when I can get monetized, and then that's eventually when we can start doing donations when we get enough subscribers, when we get to 1,000 subscribers and enough watch hours. So just basically, the more people we get to watch, the more hitting the like button help, keep, interacting and stuff. So that if you do care about that stuff, that is how you can, help me out. So just watching the videos, if you do care about that, I really don't, I'm not asking any of you to. Just John was asking, so I was like, hey, listen, I'm not opposed to anybody trying to help. So I really appreciate that, John. Your words are very. I love the sincerity, and it means a lot. So I'm glad you prefer me over over the AccuWeather. So I like to think I prefer me over the AccuWeather too. So Mount Holly up in totals, 6 inches near Philly, awesome. Yeah, I was feeling. I said earlier on stream 3 to 6, 4 to 8 on Gerald's stream. I would kind of still go with that. I would go with that general idea here. I just think ratios in the back half of this for almost everybody are just going to be so fantastic, and they're going to be so saturated that, especially if this is being under amplified at all too, your totals will increase a lot too. If you get better consolidation of the dynamics than what's being depicted, you could really amplify this Tuesday storm more. Or sorry, not Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, tomorrow, not Tuesday. Let's see. Keep throwing those questions in there, baby. Keep breaking this down. We're doing fantastic, going strong on stream here now. Let's see. Yes, Mount Holly. Oh, we're going to look at winter storm warnings. So this is New York. I would lean towards them putting winter storm warnings, but it really doesn't matter, honestly. Guys, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Whether or not they put their winter storm warning over you is not going to change how much snow you're going to get. So I used to worry, and when I was much more of an amateur than the professional amateur I would call myself. I'm a professional amateur. Now, I guess that's more offensive to me, but it doesn't matter. I um, I would I really wouldn't care too much about warnings too. By the way, if you're not in them on Long Island in New York City, Jersey, so don't worry too much about it. I'm worried about Central PA because we seem to be getting less and less every model run. John, I brought up this. Where are you at in Central PA? I'm assuming maybe more towards Harrisburg or something, maybe closer. I don't know. Just a guess off the cuff. But here's the thing here with Central PA. You may not get the best banding. I'm not gonna lie. You may not. So I'll take one out here. This is hopefully close enough. But look at these soundings here. This isn't even peak temperature yet. Your soundings are very good. This is still almost -1 omega. This is great snow growth here. Fantastic snow growth. Oh, near Williamsport. So you're almost northern PA up here. All right, that's a little bit tougher, but you're still going to have great ratios. Sorry if I didn't pick exactly. I just, taking northern PA in general. You're going to have fantastic ratios. Why is the 1 in 10 chance of 14 to 16 inches in PA? Because if the ratios being depicted are actually going to help support insane snowfall rates during that time, then that would allow you to like it would be like crazy snowfall rates. It would be dynamically driven by the fact you're going to see such intense rates in a short amount of time that it stacks up so quickly. I think that would be a little bit much. I think your ceiling in PA would be more like a, I think, what did I say, like an 8 to 12 plus kind of, maybe eight, you know, 8 to sounding on Staten Island. I'm sitting on my, thank you for the description, Alex. That really moved the needle for me there, whether or not I was going to click on that sound. Just playing. You're the first person I think that has said that though. So thank you for letting me know where you're currently residing. Sitting on the bed. I'd prefer, especially if you're on the toilet or something. I prefer you not say that you're sitting on the toilet. So for anybody, I don't want to see those ones. But even here, you see limited moisture. Brady, where do I live? I live in Central Mass. I live right next to Worcester, Massachusetts. So that is where I reside. I'm going to get pretty good. I'm going to get pretty good. Well, I'm in a really good spot for this storm. I happen to be. So I'm pretty excited about what's going to be happening here. Not great lift here, but again, ratios are going to be so good. I think you could still get 3 to 6 plus out here in Central PA. Just out of here, that might be a little bit much. Maybe more 2 to 5 in Williamsport, Central PA. It might be a little bit tough, but you're going to get such good ratios that you should be able to still do pretty well. I thought they were just high when they made it. I mean, that might be a little bit. We are all on the bed, by the way. Well, I know a lot of you probably are, given the time of night. No, that's all fine. I was just I needed to be more specific to persuade you. Well, that flipped the needle for me, Alex. So thank you. As long as you're not telling me you're on the can, I'm just fine. 3% chance of 18 inches is dead. Hope is dead just yet. Hope isn't dead. Yes. That's great English there by you, Twisted. Damn. Can't give me crap. You're doing that English. Come on now. We'll be able to get the 06 hurry. They get loaded in a second. Last question, starting timing. In my general timing, tomorrow afternoon, probably. Tomorrow early afternoon in PA. Yeah, we are all on the bed. Staten Island. Yeah, that's what I was going to check. Oh, we did check Staten Island earlier, but if you didn't miss it. So again, HRR, I don't care too much about the P-type map specifically, but it does highlight, I think this is even underdoing it maybe a little bit, but its resolution will be able to highlight very good some of these specifics here for soundings. So this is heavy snow. This is very heavy snow in New York City. Ratios are still not perfect. You can see that warm nose creep a little bit because you will be somewhat close to the mix line, but you probably won't mix too much in New York City, if at all. So I wouldn't worry about that. Worry about that too much. But the line will be snower. But there's a saying for a lot of people on the South Shore and southeastern Mass that you got to smell the rain to really thump hard, and that's what you're going to do here. And so here's how you boom if you want to know, especially more so not only for New England, but especially as well for if you live in Eastern PA, really anywhere actually. This applies for anywhere. If you really want to boom I think there's multiple ways to boom the forecast more in Southern New England. But if you really want to boom the forecast, because I think you're very limited in the boom forecast. There's something limited a little bit in terms of just the timing. You're still in the earlier process of when that banding is really getting going. If you really want to boom here in New York City, Jersey, PA, places south of Southern New England, really especially south of northern Connecticut, basically in Hudson Valley, you need to I would be a little bit hesitant here, but what you need here is typically we talk about dynamic cooling in a sense where it helps you keep that line a little bit further away and make sure you don't mix. But dynamic cooling works the same way regardless if you're here or here. And you can see it depicted. You can see that warm nose get to here and then stop because of how significant the snowfall rates are. Um, but maybe potentially dynamic cooling helps prevent helps cool the column a little bit more. So not only now are you getting decent ratios with heavy snow, you're getting pretty good ratio. You're getting very good ratios now with heavy snow, with -1, -2 omega. That is going to give you that would give you very heavy snowfall, and it would give you higher rates. So now think about it. Here's how I'm going to do my snowfall map, and this is what's going to really tell me whether or not I think we can boom. And I'll let you guys know. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how many hours are we going to be snowing, how many hours are we going to be heavily snowing, and I'm going to be looking at for the most time. So they had the highest ceiling with this storm, especially like somewhere in northern Mass, southern New Hampshire, northeast Mass, southern Maine, because their ratios are just going to be so insane. I think somewhere in there, I think I would maybe favor for the absolute bullseye, the highest chance, 1 in 5 chance of 1 inch. The Hopium is strong with this one. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about making sure you see more than an inch of snow here twisted. But if you do this, think about it. We can kind of time it right now. Let's say you snow for if you have 4 to 5 hours of heavy snow in New York City. Think about it, if you have 4 to 5 hours of heavy snow in New York City and you're 1 inch per hour, and then you have 3 to 4 hours of moderate snow, then you're gonna be, and those snowfall rates might be decent. Then maybe you can get 5, 6, 7 inches of snow. Let's say, right? You're about 4 hours of heavy snow, 4 hours of moderate snow, and let's say inch per hour average, half inch per hour average for the other hours. That's about 6 inches of snow roughly. But now let's say you're an inch and a half per hour on average for 4 hours straight. And then you see 4 hours of moderate snow, and you see another hour of light snow. Oh, that was a foot, not an inch. My bad. Oh yeah. Well, okay. I don't get too excited. But my point is, now you do that math. Do 4 hours, inch and a half. Now that's 6 inches. It starts to become a math game, and this is where sometimes I think it helps my snowfall maps, at least for me. Inch and a half per hour for 4 hours. That's 6 inches. Half inch per hour now still for 4 hours. Yeah, it's another 2 inches. You had another hour of light snow, and that's maybe like 8 3/4 inches in New York City. And now you've boomed your forecast. And that's how you get it done. To get 8 9 inches of snow in New York City, Long Island. So that is why I'm very 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 intrigued about this. And I don't know, some of these QPFs, man, with how heavy the snowfall is going to be, it will be tough. It will be tough a little bit. I hate, I don't always want to. Obviously I want you guys to get snow, but I want to be as right as possible. And I don't love. Some of you may disagree. I don't love being bullish with the snowfall maps. Really, I don't. I don't love to, because now I feel like I'm going. Beforehand, I don't, because it just always feels risky. It just always feels risky. But I always got to stick to I just got to stick to the analysis and the forecast and see where that leads. And one thing is, man, if you have so much lift in your dendritic growth zone all the way throughout, I mean, you could really, really saturate the column here, and you could allow for above 10-to-1 ratios with very heavy snowfall rates. And given how heavy the snowfall is going to be during this time, if you're in it, man, 4 to 6 hours of 2 inch per hour rates on average, then all of a sudden you're talking about some pretty significant totals. And then you're talking about 6 hours, say, of moderate snow on average. I mean, all of a sudden you're talking about a foot of snow, and that's your pathway to doing this. So, like, I really very much would, like, I wouldn't love, to make, it's not fun to make the maps, well, obviously it's fun to make the maps, and the colors obviously are very bright and fun, but uh, it's not always fun to kind of go out on a limb a little bit. Um, but you gotta stick to what you're seeing in the analysis. Feed mic is cutting in and out. We should be doing okay. Can pull the mic a little bit closer. I think we're doing all right though. The Mac is a little hot right now, so maybe it's overheating. We can take off a tab. Here we are pressing it a little too much. Let's see. Something about this winter screams late winter, early spring blockbuster. I don't know. I'm not. I can't tell that far yet, but I really like the prospects of how this winter turns out, man. I really think this is going to turn out to be a pretty good winter here. If only the storm wasn't moving like an F-16, we could be subjected to a more certain amount of snowfall. Well, that's what makes the setup, right? That's what you got to come down to. Um, Honestly, these ones are so much fun. Quick hitting, I love quick hitting monsters, and that's what this is. There's no in between. It's gonna be heavy snow, and it's gonna be awesome. These ones are so much fun, in my opinion. So much fun. Let's see. You want to try to do a little on-stream analysis here? Maybe a little bit. See how we're doing. I like to do it off-stream. It takes the pressure off a little bit more, but try to channel my inner AI here, my inner chat GPT, so to say. So that was 1 a.m. Let's go to 1 a.m. No, not there. Stop it right here. All right. Mm, let's see here. Don't worry, I'll make sure the pressure is heavy. I'm not seeing anything too off quite yet. Nothing sticks out significantly so much. Well, we are having a little bit more, we've changed the orientation a little bit, so a little bit of different setup. Nothing, I will have to look a little bit closer after stream for now. Let's see. Sorry, I get really quiet. I get really quiet when I start analyzing in depth, because it is always kind of a moment of truth, always. Look here. Dun-dun. All right. If you click the mouse on the top right, you can hover the thing instead of clicking in between model runs. Yeah, but I'm old fashioned. I'm old fashioned, Twisted. Um, don't refresh. Don't refresh it. Don't you dare refresh this. Dang it. Got it. Right there. No, pause. There you go. There you go. Pause it. In case you're confused what I'm doing, I'm comparing simulated water vapor to actual water vapor. Gives me a little bit of an idea how we're progressing. And Twisted, I'm going to keep doing this because that's how I like it. Scared of innovation. A little bit harder to tell side by side. I can do it better when comparing images. I mean, I can tell differences for the moment, I guess. Only one thing I noticed: South Carolina is a little bit different. Might be a little bit sharper with that angle potentially. A little bit less in South Carolina, if you notice on here. It's just covering a little bit more, so maybe we're a little bit, or maybe we're a little bit sharper with the drop potentially, or we could be broader if more of that is extending out, or sorry, along the boundary here. So nothing too crazy off schedule so far, but I'll look deeper into it after stream as well. So no breaking analysis there, but there are some subtle differences. Some subtle differences here. So I'm not. Notice that is similar though. That's more similar to 060, which is a little bit more amplified. And listen, we're fine now with amplifying this more for mix purposes. I don't think that mix line is going to come too much farther. But the better we can, one thing we had on these earlier runs is we had better moisture transport. So that's why you saw higher totals and more QPF. So that's why following all the little things here. So I'm looking along the boundary here. What was different along here that allowed us to get more moisture into our sturm and amplify it more? Again, I'm going to need to look some very preliminary analysis that there's something closer. 060, you notice how Carolina was a little bit drier right here. If there's one little thing only, right here. Look at Carolina on the 060, which was more amplified, and the OZ. Look at the OZ. Carolina's covered. Here's 1A. Here's a 01 UTC here. Or sorry, 06. 06 for 06. 1 a.m. South Carolina is not covered. So as stupid as that sounds, kind of, and I'll need to look a little bit more into that. It's the amateur way. I need to look more into that. And I like being able to compare since I'm not like a professional, so I'm not as good as being able to link things right away and being able to do that. So that I do have limits, but one thing I'm really good at is being able to compare and contrast and being able to pick apart what allowed this run to do this versus that. It's really something that you guys theoretically could be able to do as well, but I do study this stuff pretty hard. So I don't know if you guys would be willing to take the time and try to gain the knowledge that I did not possess, that I kind of had to gain in order to understand a lot of this stuff. But I still research a lot of stuff too, just to try to keep adding here. But to me, that could potentially, on the 060 run, we had Carolina. That may be harder to see here on this screen. Is this North America zoomed out? That might be hard to see then. Let me get to, yeah, You can see that a little bit better. This might be easier for me now. See how Carolina's more covered here? Just a little bit. So that's one subtle difference. 12Z, 18Z, OZ, but we were like that at 18Z too, kind of. So you see that we were kind of uncovered. So I don't know how much you can look into it, but we were like that at 12Z as well. So a little bit of a change. So not too much to go, but I want to see what I'm looking for is, are we on track to get less or more moisture be able to get transported into our upper level low? The more we get into, the more we can transport, the stronger our banding is, the more consolidated it is, the heavier the snowfall rates, the more cold air we pull in as well. If we do the opposite, then we won't see as much. Then it'll be more on the lower end for some of these totals. But based on where I left off on analysis, based on where I left off, um, again, I really can't break this down too well. I do better side by side, being able to pick apart. It's a little bit harder on here, but I'm going to need to be able to. So, to answer your question, Chef Curry, nothing. I can't confirm anything good or bad really quite yet for y'all. I can't confirm anything good or bad quite yet. So, I will be able to more so. And so, what we see is this is interacting. The two are going to entangle, intertwine, and you're going to see this trough come here, swing through, and interact with the boundary. What's left and that doesn't get sucked into this gets pulled up into this. Right now, a lot of it is still getting pulled into this surface, into this, not just surface, but into this storm here. Very tiny surface low. It's getting pulled into that right now, a lot of it. That's expected. The rest of it gets pulled into this. And that convergence zone then starts to happen. And you'll see this upper level low continue to slide eastward, east northeast, until it eventually moves further north. So that's the trajectory of how our storm plays out here. That's how we finish with this system. Let's see, we got the HRR, new HRR. So it's starting to get closer to where it's like, all right, maybe, but still, I'm mainly going to use it more for soundings than anything else. Then I'm not really going to, I don't really put too much stock on precip shield and anything, but I do look at it. I do still look at it. Right, this was that tiny surface low here. Right here, this little thing, this thing wraps up. This is what's pulling a lot of this convection in as well, and this is really pulling into all this whole evolution here. Canada just got a good snowstorm from this up here this weekend. Friday and Saturday, they got a good snowstorm from that. It's really just one massive comma head if you really think about it. You see that here? It's just one big massive comma head. One big storm with three storms in between it. You can see the full picture here. Beautiful satellite imagery here. We're popping though. Good news is this thing's expanding, so we're seeing we're getting on track here. If we weren't seeing that expansion already, I would be a little concerned, but we are. And, you can kind of follow the tea leaves here. We zoom in again. That's where this thing is trekking. So we're looking pretty solid. We are looking pretty solid right now. Go here, tidbits. Nothing. Still not. I'm not going to wait too much longer for this thing to come out. So let's see. How'd we do overall today? How many more subs? Oh, we lost one. Someone didn't like me. So we lost one, but fantastic today, gaining 100 subscribers, literally, since about 6 o'clock. So we've gained 100 subscribers here in the last 8 hours, which is phenomenal, phenomenal. All right, we're gonna call it here. I'm gonna make a snow map in a little bit. I'm gonna do some run-to-run analysis with the models here and compare it to current analysis, and then I'm gonna make my snow map. So look for that. I'll pin it to my thing on X. And until then, I appreciate you all